part and parcel of this American superficiality, if I would use that term. Listen, China is not that desperate for Iranian oil. It has its own resources and sources, but China is playing sort of a very, very cynical game, as we know. It is not actually Iran. It is a part and parcel of the big game, which means China-America trade war, etc. The Americans think that this could be a kind of a leverage, as you said, and they hate the idea of the Chinese actually going beyond American sanctions. But to tell you the truth, in my opinion, this is not something that can really change the whole picture. But it is, once again, it's just another step in an ongoing trade war between China and Iran, China and the US. For me, it says that it is a picture by which to understand how the American possibilities are being narrowed down, so to speak. And this is one part of the situation which is very problematic, where we find ourselves with regard to the nuclear problem with Iran.
And we're left to wonder if the nuclear issue in Iran can even be tackled without China. Is China a critical partner in the efforts to go after Iran over their nuclear activity?
Yes, I think that this is kind of, another attempt by the Americans to show that they have some cards in their sleeves. Basically, if you ask me, there are huge gaps between the Americans and the Iranians as to what deal is about. I just got kind of a report from the Iranian Majlis yesterday, the parliament, and there is a think tank there that is providing some material to the Iranian parliament. From what I've seen there, I mean, what the Iranians are coming up with, what they have in their back of mind when they talk about the deal is something unrealistic totally. And they are trying to maximize their actually demands. And they are capitalizing, as we said before, on the American hesitant position in the Middle East. And once again, I do hope that I am mistaken on that. But sadly, I have to say that this is part and parcel of the American superficiality.
Well, certainly, the outside reports indicate that gap as wide as you're saying it is here. Doesn't seem to be much progress in this realm of negotiation. But after the UN speeches, we saw the UN General Assembly here this week. Traditionally a time where this topic is brought up and spoken about at length here now. We saw Prime Minister Bennett alluding to possible attack on Iran, saying, quote unquote, words won't stop centrifuges. We saw Iran pushing back. How did this week at the General Assembly affect tensions with Iran, as they normally do, or did it not?
Well, to say the truth, in my opinion, this is sort of a partial predicament from the side of Israel. We understand that there is a very, very problematic issue between us and the Americans, basically, because they don't want us to do something with regard to that. Once Israel's interest is to have at least kind of freedom of action to be left if and when. And this is why Israel has to come up with something very, very penetrating. First of all, when it comes to shadow war, we have to go on that because Iran has to be left with an impression that this could be very pricey for it. Second, diplomatically speaking, Israel should come up with the best diplomatic skills as to just persuade at least partially the Americans and some Sunni Arab states to build up sort of a consensus by which to leave, as I said, a leeway for Israel to have a freedom of action.
Well, along those lines, I would say the National Security Advisor, U.S. National Security Advisor Sullivan, coming to Egypt today, going to the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia. Does this appear he's working to shore up sides still in Iran? How much is Iran featuring in his tour right now?
I don't think that Sullivan's trip is about Iran. I think it's about Yemen, which is becoming kind of a big saga. Noting that the Americans' relations with the Saudis are that bad, one should wonder actually what the Americans are going to accomplish, if at all, from that visit when it comes to the war in Yemen. And once again, I take the liberty to say, look at that, Yemen, Libya, Syria. The Americans would like all these conflicts to be evaporated, to go away. This is not actually the way to deal with that. They are trying to clean up the table from the American meal in the Middle East. And I'm afraid that this is kind of formula that wouldn't work. We'll have to wait and see. But this is kind of an, we have an idea about how the complexities of the Middle East and the American policy, which is becoming toward sort of a deadlock. We'll have to wait and see. It remains to be seen what we're going to have in the coming months.
Professor Rabi, thanks for the analysis.
Thank you.